In this video presentation I shall discuss 166 multiple choice type questions and their answers from R.K. Narayan's Leela's Friend. Such kind of MCQ questions answers are important for the students of Class 11 of West Bengal Board of Secondary Education. Now my dear students, I welcome you to my educational channel. The name of my educational channel is Priyankar Dutta. Here you will find video presentations on English language and literature of school level, college level as well as of competitive examinations. Let us move to the question answer section. Questions about the author. 1. R.K. Narayan belongs to A. India, B. England, C. France, D. Russia. Answer, A. 2. The fictional territory in which most of the works of Narayan are set is A. Wessex, B. Malgudi, C. Dorset, D. None of the above. Answer, B. Questions about the story in general. 1. The source book of R.K. Narayan's Leela's Friend is A. Malgudi Days, B. Swami and Friends, C. The English Teacher, D. The Bachelor of Arts. Answer, A. 2. From the perspective of genre, Leela's Friend is A. Long story, B. Short story, C. Novella, D. Essay. Answer, B. Questions from Section 1. MR and MRS Shivasankar meet Siddha but fail to decide. 1. Siddha was hanging about was A. The gate of Mr. Sivasankar's house, B. The front veranda of Mr. Sivasankar's house, C. The front veranda of the doctor's house, D. The gate of the doctor's house. Answer, A. 2. When Siddha was hanging about the gate, Mr. Shivasankar was standing in A. The rear veranda of his house, B. The front veranda of his house, C. The front garden of his house, D. The rear garden of his house. Answer, B. 3. Mr. Shivasankar was brooding over A. His financial problem, B. The familial problem, C. The servant problem, D. The problem of finding a playmate for Leela. Answer, C. 4. Siddha was hanging about the gate of Mr. Sivasankar's house because A. He wanted to steal away the valuables from the house, B. He wanted to sell his products in the Shivasankar household, C. He wanted to impress Mr. Shivasankar, D. He wanted to work there as a servant. Answer, D. 5. The only question which Siddha asked Mr. Shivasankar was A. If the other person wanted a servant, B. If he might come in, C. If the other person would get down to talk to him, D. If he himself would get up to the veranda to talk to Mr. Shivasankar. Answer, A. 6. As Siddha opened the gate and came in, Mr. Shivasankar, A. rebuked Siddha for doing Siddha, B. subjected Siddha to a scrutiny, C. praised Siddha for doing Siddha, D. asked Siddha if he was willing to work in his family or not. Answer, B. 7. Having scrutinized Siddha, Mr. Shivasankar said to himself that A. Siddha did not seem to be a bad sort, B. At any rate Siddha looked tidy, C. Both A and B, D. Neither A nor B. Answer, C. 8. Siddha told Shivasankar that earlier he worked in A. An engineer's house, B. A professor's house, C. A teacher's house, D. A doctor's house. Answer, D. 9. Mr. Shivasankar asked Siddha the name of his A. former employer, B. former employee, C. former landlord, D. none of the above. Answer, A. 10. Siddha told Mr. Shivasankar that his former employer lived A. near the railway station, B. near the market, C. near the police station, D. near the bus stand. Answer, B. 11. According to Siddha he was sent away because A. the family members of his former employer no longer need a servant, B. the family members of his former employer could not afford the cost of keeping him, C. the family members of his former employer left the town, D. none of the above. Answer, C. 12. By the word master Siddha refers to A. the doctor in whose house he worked earlier, B. Mrs. Shivasankar, C. The police inspector, D. Mr. Shivasankar. Answer, D. 13. The stock reply which Siddha gave was that, A. The family members of the doctor left the town, B. The family members of the doctor could no longer tolerate his audacity, C. The family members of the doctor no longer needed a servant, D. None of the above. Answer, A. 14. In the phrase stock reply the word stock means, A. Prepared, B. Pre-prepared, C. Anticipated, D. None of the above. Answer, B. 15. Mr. Shivasankar could not make up his mind in the matter of, A. Allowing Siddha inside the house, B. Giving Siddha salary or food or both for his work, C. Employing Siddha as the servant of his household, D. None of the above. Answer, C. 16. In the expression, Mr. Shivasankar was unable to make up his mind the phrasal verb make up means, A. Accept, B. Reject, C. Nullify, D. Decide. Answer, D. 17. Mr. Shivasankar was unable to make up his mind in the matter of employing Siddha because, A. The answers which Siddha gave to his questions could not satisfy him, B. Siddha could not answer his questions, C. Siddha did not know the answers of his questions, D. The answers which Siddha gave to his questions were wrong. Answer, A. 18. As Mr. Shivasankar was unable to make up his mind, he, A. Told Siddha to wait for a short while, B. Called his wife, C. Called Leela, D. Told Siddha to go away. Answer, B. 19. Looking at Siddha, Mrs. Shivasankar felt that he, A. Did not seem to be a bad sort, B. Looked tidy at any rate, C. Did not seem to be worse than the other servants they have had, D. Siddha looked like a thief. Answer, C. 20. Looking at Siddha, Mr. Shivasankar felt that he, A. Did not seem to be a bad sort, B. Looked tidy at any rate, C. Neither a nor B, D. Both A and B. Answer, D. Questions from Section 2. Leela meets Siddha and consents to employ him. 1. The age of Leela was, A. 5 years, B. 4 years, C. 6 years, D. 7 years. Answer, A. 2. Looking at Siddha, the initial nonverbal reaction of Leela was, A. A cry of laughter, B. A cry of joy, C. A cry of sorrow, D. A cry of sadness. Answer, B. 3. Looking at Siddha, Leela's reaction was, A. Thoughtful, B. Pre-prepared, C. Impulsive, D. None of the above. Answer, C. 4. After looking at Siddha, Leela told her father that, A. She liked Siddha, B. Siddha must not be sent away, C. Siddha must be kept in their house, D. All the above. Answer, D. 5. The person whose opinion proved to be decisive in employing Siddha was, A. Leela, B. Mr. Shivasankar, C. Mrs. Shivasankar, D. None of the above. Answer, A. 6. In the expression, and that decided it, the word that refers to, A. Mrs. Sivasankar's consent, B. Leela's consent, C. Mr. Sivasankar's consent, D. None of the above. Answer, B. Questions from Section 3. Siddha is employed. 1. The number of meals Siddha was given a day was, A. 2, B. 3, C. 1, D. 4. Answer, A. 2. The amount which Siddha was given a month was, A. 5, B. 4, C. 6, D. 3. Answer, B. 4. 3. The works which Siddha had to do in the Shivasankar household were, A. Washing clothes, tending the garden and running errands, B. Washing clothes, tending the garden and chopping wood, C. Washing clothes, tending the garden, running errands, chopping wood, and looking after Leela, D. Washing clothes, tending the garden and looking after Leela. Answer, C. Questions from Section 4. Leela and Siddha play. 1. Leela plays with Siddha with, A. A red ball, B. A black ball, C. a white ball, D, a green ball. Answer, A. 2. Leela and Siddha played, A, in the back garden of the house, B, in the front garden of the house, C, in the front part of the house, D, none of the above. Answer, B. 3. Siddha's company made Leela, A, supremely depressed, B, supremely sad, C, supremely happy, D, none of the above. Answer, C. 4. Leela told Siddha to throw the ball to, A, the moon, B, the sun, C, the star, D, the sky. Answer, D. 5. When the ball came down again, Siddha told Leela that, A, the ball had touched the moon and come back, B, there was a little bit of the moon sticking to the ball, C, it was purely magic, D, none of the above. Answer, A. 6. Leela keenly examined the ball for traces of, A, the sun, B, the moon, C, the moisture, D, none of the above. Answer, B. 7. Siddha threw the ball up by, A, clutching the ball, B, closing his eyes for a second, C, both A and B, D, none of the above. Answer, C. 8. Leela could not see the trace of the moon on the ball because, A, she was slow in seeing, B, there was some problem with her eyesight, C, she was more than quick in seeing, D, there was actually no such trace. Answer, D. 9. According to Siddha, in order to see the trace of the moon on the ball, Leela will have to be, A, very quick, B, very smart, C, very quick-witted, D, none of the above. Answer, A. 10. According to Siddha, if Leela does not react very quickly, the trace of the moon will, A, evaporate, B, evaporate and go back to the moon, C, go back to the moon, D, none of the above. Answer, B. 11. The matter in which Siddha told Leela to hurry up was, A, catching the ball with her hands, B, looking at the moon from the rose plant, C, seeing the traces of the moon on the ball, D, none of the above. Answer, C. 12. Siddha allowed Leela to peep through a little gap between / among, A, the branches of the rose plant, B, the backyard and the well, C, his hands, D, his fingers. Answer, D. 13. Leela thought that the moon was, A, very wet, B, very hot, C, very cold, D, none of the above. Answer, A. 14. When Leela asked Siddha if the moon was very wet, the kind of reply she got was, A, negative, B, affirmative, C, evasive, D, none of the above. Answer, B. 15. When Leela asked Siddha what was in the sky, Siddha referred to, A, the sun, B, the moon, C, God, D, cloud. Answer, C. 16. Leela told Siddha of touching the sky by, A, standing on the roof, B, stretching the arms, C, either A or B, D, both A and B. Answer, D. 17. Siddha tells that he has climbed on the coconut tree and touched the sky, A, many times, B, a few times, C, a limited number of times, D, none of the above. Answer, A. 18. Siddha tells that he climbs a coconut tree and touches the sky whenever there is A, small moon, B, big moon, C, average-sized moon, D, no moon. Answer, B. 19. Siddha told Leela that the sky can be touched by, A, standing on the coconut tree, B, stretching the arms, C, both A and B, D, neither A nor B. Answer, C. 20. Siddha told Leela that the moon knows him, A, casually, B, slightly, C, to some extent, D, very well. Answer, D. 21. Siddha made Leela see the moon for the first time by making her stand near, A, the rose plant, B, the tulip plant, C, the jasmine plant, D, the hyacinth plant. Answer, A. 22. Siddha made Leela see the moon for the second time by making her stand on, A, the rose plant, B, the backyard, near the well, C, the front yard, near the well, D, the well near the backyard answer, B. 23 Siddha pointed out the moon to Leela from, A. Near the rose plant, B. The backyard near the well, C. Both A and B, D. None of the above answer, C. 24 By the phrase something nice Siddha refers to, A. The appearance of the moon, B. The disappearance of the moon, C. The rising of the moon, D. The displacement of the moon answer, D. 25 Seeing the moon following them Leela screamed in, A. Wonder, B. Joy, C. Elation, D. Anxiety answer, A. 26 Clarifying the displacement of the moon Siddha tells that, A. The moon is very obedient to him, B. He has told the moon to follow them, C. The moon has some kind of a pact with him, D. None of the above answer, B. 27 Seeing the moon following them Leela tells her mother that, A. Siddha has a pact with the moon, B. Siddha is a friend of the moon, C. Siddha knows the moon, D. None of the above answer, C. Questions from section 5, Leela tries to teach Siddha. 1 From the garden Siddha carries Leela in, A. At dusk, B. At night, C. At dawn, D. In the afternoon answer, A. 2 To Siddha Leela played the role of A. Principal, B. Teacher, C. Guardian, D. Governess answer, B. 3 Leela made Siddha squat on, A. The bed, B. The mat, C. The floor, D. The sofa answer, C. 4 Leela had a box filled with, A. Catalogs only, B. Illustrated books only, C. Stumps of pencils only, D. None of the above answer, D. 5 While making Siddha squat on the floor Leela gave him, A. A pencil and a catalog, B. A pen and a catalog, C. A pencil and a book, D. None of the above answer, A. 6 While teaching Siddha Leela had in her hands, A. A pen and a catalog, B. A pencil and a catalog, C. A pencil and a book, D. None of the above answer, B. 7 While teaching Siddha Leela's tone was one of, A. Advice, B. Request, C. Order, D. Inquiry answer, C. 8 In order to teach Siddha Leela wrote, A. On the blackboard, B. In the pages of the catalogue of Siddha, C. On the whiteboard, D. In the pages of her catalogue answer, D. 9 The number of letters of the alphabet which Leela knew was, A. 2 or 3, B. 1 or 2, C. 3 or 4, D. Nil answer, A. 10 Leela could draw, A. A kind of cat and parrot, B. A kind of cat and crow, C. A kind of dog and crow, D. None of the above answer, B. 11 The expression, but none of these could Siddha even remotely copy, suggests that in the art of copying Siddha was, A. Expert, B. Good, C. Totally inefficient, D. Average skilled answer, C. 12 The letter which Siddha fails to copy is, A. B, C, D, B answer, D. 13 The language in which Leela knew 2 or 3 letters is, A. English, B. Spanish, C. German, D. French answer, A. 14 The creature the picture of which Siddha fails to draw is, A. Cat, B. Crow, C. Dog, D. Cow answer, B. 15 Leela pitted Siddha because, A. Siddha was an orphan, A. Siddha was poor, C. There was no lack of commitment from Siddha, D. None of the above answer, C. 16 As Siddha failed to write and draw, Leela, A. Multiplied her efforts by 5, B. Multiplied her efforts by 3, C. Doubled her efforts, D. Redoubled her efforts answer, D. 17 Siddha was an adept at, A. Controlling the moon, B. Plying the pencil, C. Playing with a ball, D. None of the above. Answer, A. 18. The word adept used in connection with siddha means A. Versatile, B. Expert, C. Good at adaptation, D. None of the above. Answer, B. 19. Siddha was utterly incapable of A. Controlling the moon, B. Playing with a ball, C. Plying the pencil, D. None of the above. Answer, C. 20. The word plying used in connection with siddha means A. Playing with, B. Applying, C. Supplying, D. Using or wielding. Answer, D. 21. As Siddha failed miserably, it seemed that A. Leela would keep him there pinned to his seat till his inflexible wrist cracked, B. Leela would not teach him any more, C. Leela would kill him, D. Leela would scold and beat him. Answer, A. 22. Siddha sought relief from Leela's teaching by saying that A. Leela's mother was calling her to breakfast, B. Leela's mother was calling her to dinner, C. Leela's mother was calling her to lunch, D. Leela's mother was calling her to snacks. Answer, B. 23. The school hour would end as A. Leela would drop the pencil, B. Leela would run out of the room, C. Both A and B, D. Neither A nor B. Answer, C. Questions from section 6. Leela comes close to Siddha at other times as well. 1. After Leela's dinner, Siddha had to tell her A. A story, B. A poem, C. A song, D. A prose. Answer, A. 2. While telling stories to Leela, Siddha sat down, A. On the floor near the bed, B. On the floor near the bed, C. On the floor near the bed, D. On the floor near the bed. Answer, B. 3. The stories which Siddha told Leela were of A. Animals in the zoo, gods in heaven and magic dolls, B. Animals in the jungle, gods in hell and magicians, C. Animals in the jungle, gods in heaven and magicians, D. None of the above. Answer, C. 4. In nature, the stories told by Siddha to Leela were A. Ordinary, B. Natural, C. Unusual, D. Incomparable. Answer, D. 5. The word clung used to suggest Leela's attachment to Siddha means A. Stuck close, B. Became more fond of, C. Became friendly with, D. None of the above. Answer, A. 6. The phrase waking hours used to refer to the time when Leela looked for the company of Siddha means A. Whenever Leela walked, B. Whenever Leela remained awake, C. Both A and B, D. Neither A nor B. Answer, B. 7. Leela looked for the accompaniment of Siddha when Siddha, A. worked in the garden, B. chopped wood, C. was sent on errands, D. all the above. Answer, C. 8. The phrase sent on errands used in connection with Siddha's work refers to A. going outside to do a work, B. do a work on someone else's behalf, C. going outside for merrymaking, D. going outside to do a work on someone else's behalf. Answer, D. Questions from Section 7. Leela's gold chain is found missing and the suspected Siddha runs away. 1. Siddha went out to buy sugar, A. in the evening, B. in the afternoon, C. at noon, D. in the morning. Answer, A. 2. The person who noticed the missing of Leela's gold chain is A. Siddha, B. Mrs. Shivasankar, C. Leela, D. Mr. Shivasankar. Answer, B. 3. Leela's chain was made of A. steel, B. copper, C. gold, D. silver. Answer, C. 4. When Leela's mother asked her about the whereabouts of the chain, she gave A. a definite reply, B. an affirmative reply, C. a negative reply, D. an evasive reply. Answer, D. 5. When Leela could not give a definite reply to her mother's question about the whereabouts of the chain, her mother, A. slapped her, B. scolded her, C. hit her with a stick, D. looked at her angrily. Answer, A. 6. Leela's mother told her that she had told her to take off her gold chain and put it in the box, A. once, B. many times, C. 5 times, D. not at all. Answer, B. 7. Mrs. Shivasankar shouted the name of Siddha because A. she had to send Siddha in the market once more, B. she wanted Siddha to tell her a story, C. she thought that Siddha had stolen the chain, D. none of the above. Answer, C. 8. After the missing of Leela's gold chain, her mother looked at Siddha and thought that A. Siddha had stolen Leela's gold chain, B. Siddha might be a thief, C. Siddha was a thief, D. Siddha already looked queer. Answer, D. 9. Leela's mother mentioned the police to A. frighten Siddha, B. appease Siddha, C. comfort Siddha, D. enliven Siddha. Answer, A. 10. Leela's mother had to go back into the kitchen because A. she wanted to think afresh about interrogating Siddha, B. she had left something in the oven, C. Leela whined her to go there, D. none of the above. Answer, B. 11. Leela whined that A. Siddha has to be adjudged innocent, B. she wanted to play with Siddha, C. she wanted to have some sugar, D. Siddha must not be threatened in this way. Answer, C. 12. When Leela's mother asked Siddha about the chain, in reaction, A. his throat went dry, B. he blinked, C. he answered that he did not know anything about it, D. all the above. Answer, D. 13. Taking advantage of the absence of Mrs. Shivasankar, Siddha had vanished, A. into the night, B. into the garden, C. into the forest, D. none of the above. Answer, A. Questions from Section 8. Leela, Mr. Shivasankar and Ms. Shivasankar react differently to Siddha's running away. 1. Mr. Shivasankar came home, A. an hour after Siddha's running away, B. 2 hours after Siddha's running away, C. 3 hours after Siddha's running away, D. 4 hours after Siddha's running away. Answer, A. 2. Hearing the incident of the missing of Leela's gold chain and Siddha running away, Mr. Shivasankar, A. became very angry, went to the police station and lodged a complaint, B. became very excited, went to the police station and lodged a complaint, C. became furious, went to the police station and lodged a complaint, D. none of the above. Answer, B. 3. After her meal Leela refused to go to bed because A. she wanted Siddha to come to her and play with her, B. she wanted Siddha to come to her and confess his crime, C. she wanted Siddha to come to her and tell her stories, D. she wanted Siddha to come to her and hand over the stolen gold chain. Answer, C. 4. Leela accused her mother of subjecting Siddha to A. Worrying only, B. Beating, C. Abusing only, D. Abusing and worrying. Answer, D. 5. Mrs. Shivasankar thought that Siddha might come in at night and lot because A. He had knowledge of the household, B. He was kleptomaniac, C. She had overheard Siddha planning of such a thing, D. None of the above. Answer, A. 6. Mrs. Shivasankar thought that it was God's mercy that A. Siddha did not kidnap Leela for the chain, B. Siddha did not kill Leela for the chain, C. Siddha did not kill her for the chain, D. Siddha did not kill her and Leela for the chain. Answer, B. 7. Leela wanted to hear from her the story of A. The giraffe, B. The tiger, C. The elephant, D. The horse. Answer, C. 8. It was utterly impossible for Leela's mother to think of a story because A. She did not have any thinking capacity, B. She did not have confidence in the matter, C. She had never thought of a story, D. Her mind was disturbed. Answer, D. 9. The thought of Siddha produced in Leela's mother a feeling of A. Panic, B. Joy, C. Sadness, D. Bitterness. Answer, A. 10. Leela's mother shuddered to think that A. Siddha had not killed Leela for the gold chain, B. She had been harboring a villain all these days, C. Siddha might come in and loot, D. Siddha might kill Mr. Shivasankar on the latter's way back home. Answer, B. 11. According to Leela, Siddha was made to sleep A. Inside the house, B. Inside the kitchen, C. Outside the house, D. None of the above. Answer, C. 12. According to Leela, Siddha was gone because A. He was given a meager salary, B. He was exposed to ill treatment, C. He could not cope with the hard work which he had to do there, D. He was not allowed to sleep inside the house like Leela and her parents. Answer, D. 13. By the time Shivasankar returned from the police station, Leela A. had fallen asleep, B. was crying for Siddha's escape, C. was awake, D. was crying for the loss of her gold chain. Answer, A. 14. According to the police inspector, Siddha has been in jail half a dozen times for A. murdering, B. stealing jewelry from children, C. posing legal prohibitions on his neighbors out of jealousy, D. robbing valuables from the rich people. Answer, B. 15. The inspector was furious with Mr. Shivasankar because A. Mr. Shivasankar insulted him, B. Mr. Shivasankar's accusation against Siddha was baseless, C. Mr. Shivasankar did not consult him before employing Siddha, D. None of the above. Answer, C. 16. From the account given by Mr. Shivasankar about Siddha, Mr. Shivasankar was able to identify him, A. after a while, B. after a long while, C. without any conviction, D. in a moment. Answer, D. 17. The word whining, used in connection with Leela's desire to have sugar, means A. pestering, B. requesting, C. ordering, D. none of the above. Answer, A. 18. The word haunts, used in the expression, the police know his haunts, means A. normal shelters, B. secret shelters, C. palaces, D. hunting grounds. Answer, B. Questions from section 9. Siddha is caught and interrogated, but it is of no use. 1. Siddha was caught, A. 4 days after the missing of the gold chain, B. 2 days after the missing of the gold chain, C. 3 days after the missing of the gold chain, D. 5 days after the missing of the gold chain. Answer, A. 2. Seeing Siddha in their house, Leela became A. sad, B. overjoyed, C. panic-stricken, D. happy. Answer, B. 3. The person or persons who brought in Siddha to the house of Mr. Shivasankar were A. a police inspector, B. a constable, C. both A and B, D. none of the above. Answer, c. For when Siddha was brought in the Shivasankar family by the police, he stood with a. uplifted head,